Welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Focus TV. Joined by Octavia Wyatt, Raymond Lyons, Cardo Dudley Jr., I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 3. We're going to talk some NFC East as we get closer and closer to the NFL playoffs with teams jockeying for position. Indianapolis Colts, you should be very embarrassed. I know you have nothing to do with the NFC East. However, you should be ashamed. Congratulations to Argentina for winning the World Cup. Heck of a World Cup final. Messi doing what it is that he does. Happy to see him get that because he's caught a lot of slack over the years for not having one of those. Heard those things kind of change your whole resume, even when your resume looks like it does. We got some college basketball, not 450, and of course, we don't leave any episode without talking about seeing what Cardo has for us with rapid fire. But Octavia, the floor is yours.
NFC East, it's still just kind of crazy. A lot of things going on. So I'll start. I'll be completely honest. The most surprising game for me, Dallas played against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dallas lost to the Jaguars 40-34 in overtime. Dak Prescott was 23 of 30, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 5 carries for 20 yards. Tony Pollard had 19 carries for 75 yards, 4 receptions for 31 yards. Ezekiel Elliott had 16 carries, 58 yards, and 1 touchdown and 2 receptions for 13 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 7 receptions, 126 yards, and 1 carry for 1 yard. And Noah Brown had 6 receptions, 49 yards for 2 touchdowns. And Peyton Hendershot, last one reception, 20 yards for 20 yards, 1 reception. I was very surprised, to be completely honest. I laughed because I went out on Sunday, so I'm literally watching all the games, like back and forth, trying to figure out what's going on. And a girlfriend of mine, she's a Cowboys fan, and she was losing it. And I was like, let me get you a shot. Okay, calm down. So it was very surprising to me. Granted, I do believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars are, I guess you want to say, on the come up. But they're 6-8. They're just not really getting competent coaching this year. So I really expected for Dallas to pretty much handily deal with them. But the Jaguars were, up for the challenge. And unfortunately, I just think that the Cowboys they just weren't ready. Like, I don't think that they're a better team than them or anything, but I just think that they kind of looked past their opponent. Talked about Michael Parsons last week, talking a little trash. Was the first thing I thought about. Should have been paying attention to the Jags and not my team. But that's beside the point. Dallas carried a 21-7 lead over Jacksonville into the halftime. Seems like they will go ahead, because if they won the game, they would have gotten a playoff berth, although they did still get one via another game that we'll talk about. But Jacksonville, went on a 27-10 run of forced overtime, where overtime was not kind to them. Now, Prescott has 9 interceptions in the past 6 games and 11 in the 9 games he's played this season, which is crazy. So basically, interception every game. Now, granted, I agree with a lot of people who say all of the interceptions were not his fault. But at some point, they have to stop happening. It's kind of hard to say this one is your fault, this one is that person's fault. It's everybody's fault. The interceptions need to stop. He had 10 interceptions last year alone on 596 passes. So he's already higher than that with playing less games. So they blew the lead. This is actually the first loss of his career, Dak Prescott's career, but they had a 17-point lead. He's now 30-1, which is also kind of wild. And Prescott has been picked off in 4 straight games, tying the longest streak of his career. So obviously there's an issue. The funniest thing that I heard today was, I guess, Jerry Jones does his normal radio appearances, and he just said Dak played outstanding. We can win like this. And I was a little confused. I'm not saying Dak played horrible. I think that there were some things that probably could have been done better. It's Jerry Jones. I don't even know why I even try anymore. I really thought that, they would be able to pull it out. Once I saw the fumble towards the end of the fourth quarter from Trevor Lawrence. But then it goes back to play calling. I don't know what the plan was. They did 2 runs and then a pass, which left plenty of time for the Jaguars to go down, get to field goal range, and kick the goal field, the tying goal kick. So it was a little bit off, but all in all, like I really feel like a lot of this had to do. I hate to say it's on one person or one unit or anything, but the defense kind of let them down. The defense has been, the backbone of the team to me for most of the year. I know a lot of people talk about their offense as being very prolific and they're scoring a lot, but even in these last 3 games, I mean, the offense was struggling against the Colts, and it was the defense who scored majority of the points in the fourth quarter that pulled them away. The defense really has been, holding them down pretty much for most of the year, getting them good field position for the offense to flourish as well. But being up, 27-10, like that was what we thought was the recipe for Dallas to win a game. So I was a little bit disappointed in them. As far as an objective standpoint, as an unobjective standpoint, it was amazing to watch. But at the same time, it was just kind of crazy, and unfortunately it put them in a bad situation with seeding and everything, and games that are going to be played this week, how much they need and how much they don't need. They still have a chance, of course, to win the NFC East. Both teams have clinched the Dallas Cowboys have clinched a playoff berth due to the Washington Commanders losing, and we'll get to that next. But yeah, they just got to tighten up. They got to be a lot better. They had 8 missed tackles, including a couple opportunities, and the defense could have sacked Trevor Lawrence as well. So they got to be a lot sharper. I think these last couple of weeks, well, I thought last week would have been a wake-up call, but I would assume this week is definitely a wake-up call. So I do expect them to play better. I expect them to be more focused. I expect them to be more crisp, cleaner. Although another thing that came out of their linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch, suffered a neck injury against them, which they actually found out happens to be a pinched nerve. So they've already ruled him out, and he's actually the team's top tackler for the season. So that's going to be a big, miss for them as well. But they will play against the Philadelphia Eagles Saturday night, and we'll get to the importance of that game. But we'll talk quickly about the Washington and New York Giants game. Washington Commanders played the New York Giants. And the Giants defeated Washington 20-12. For Washington, Taylor Heineke was 17 of 29, 249 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 carries for 33 yards, and 2 fumbles lost. Brian Robinson Jr. had 12 carries for 89 yards and 1 reception for 18 yards. And Jahan Dawson had 4 receptions, 105 yards, and 1 touchdown. I mean, on the other side, New York, Daniel Jones was 21 of 32, 160 yards, 10 carries for 35 yards. Saquon Barkley had 18 carries for 87 yards and 1 touchdown and 5 receptions for 33 yards. And Richard James had 4 receptions for 42 yards. There was a lot that happened in this game, not just player-wise. I think the biggest takeaway that anybody will talk about is the officiating in the game. And I'll be honest, games across the board this weekend, officiating, in my opinion, has been kind of lackluster. There's been a lot of calls that didn't look like they should have been calls or missed calls. There was a lot going on. The biggest in this game, of course, happened in the fourth quarter where, the Commanders were set up to actually go in and score the go-ahead touchdown. Terry McLaurin ended up getting a penalty, for not being on the offensive line. There is video of him looking as he's asking the line judge, is he on the line? It looks like he says yes. And I mean, literally, as soon as Terry McLaurin turned his head, I saw the ref's hand go right in his pocket. So it was kind of crazy to me. I don't think we'll ever know 100% what was said, what was not said. At the end of the day, it put them in a very bad situation, but they still had an opportunity. And then there was another missed pass interference call in the end zone, which would have given them another opportunity to score and win the game. But although we talk about officiating, you still put yourself in that situation to have to depend on the officials to make or not make a call. They were lackluster. Honestly, if I'm completely honest, both teams were. It was more so about who was able to just hold it together at the end of the game. For the Giants, it's always dependent upon Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, and both of them have pretty decent games. But honestly, for the Giants, the biggest bright spot had to be Kayvon Thibodeau. It was the game we've been waiting for him. It was the breakout game that I've been waiting to see him play. I know he started the season off injured, so you can finally see him starting to get his legs under him. He had 11 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, fumble for a touchdown. I mean, he was everywhere, and he definitely put a lot of pressure on Taylor Heineke, who's had one of his probably poorest games of the season so far. Even starting to have chatter about, is Carson Wentz going to come back in? As of now, Ron Rivera has said he's not looking at a quarterback change unless he feels though that they still aren't on track. It's a possibility. It's down to the fact now that the Giants have the tiebreaker over the Commanders. The Giants are in a really good position to actually make it in the playoffs. The Commanders really have a lot that they have to do. Chase Young still has not come back. This was supposed to be the game that he came back. Who knows? Would he have been a difference maker? We'll never know at this point. But I mean, it's still pretty tough for both teams, going forward for the teams that they're going to be playing up next. Not the 49ers, excuse me, but they'll be playing the 49ers. The Commanders are going to be playing against the 49ers, and then the New York Giants are going to be playing against the Vikings. Both formidable teams, both teams that are going to be high up in the playoffs. So this will definitely be a good task for both teams to see where they stand. And last but not least, the Philadelphia Eagles played against the Chicago Bears, defeated the Bears 25-20. Jalen Hurts was 22 of 37, 315 yards, 2 interceptions, 17 carries for 61 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Miles Sanders had 11 carries for 42 yards and 1 reception for negative 13 yards. A.J. Brown had 9 receptions, 181 yards, and Devontae Smith had 5 receptions for 126 yards. It was a very sloppy, uncharacteristic game. I never like to use excuses. They said they were cold. I mean, it's a part of the game. I don't understand what they thought was going to happen, but Jalen Hurts, his first multiple interception game, I believe this year, might be his second. He did come out and say afterwards that he didn't have really good vision. It was pretty foggy, as well as he said his hands were numb. So that's not a good recipe, especially early in the game. And you could see he was force feeding it to A.J. Brown a lot in the beginning of the game. I think afterwards he kind of got settled in, but it was really attributed to the defense being able to keep them in the game. As wild as Justin Fields is, and I mean, wow, like I was watching this game, like ready to just like throw stuff every time he started running the ball. The run that he had when he escaped like 7 people, and stepped out at the 9-yard line. I said give him the touchdown too, even though he stepped out, but it was wild. So even with that, as well as he did, I believe Justin Fields went over 1,000 yards rushing for the year in that game. He was sacked 6 times. So this is the 3rd straight game the Philadelphia Eagles had registered 6 sacks in the game, 3rd straight. Javon Hargrave, Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick all had 2 sacks in this game. So they're doing things that haven't been done for the Philadelphia Eagles in a long time. This is the most by Eagles team since sacks were first tracked in 1963, and is 1 game shy of tying the most by any team in a season. Hassan Reddick has definitely been well worth it, signing his 3-year, $45 million contract that he did earlier in the season. He had 2 sacks, a fumble recovery. He now has 12 sacks in the season. I believe they said this is his 3rd straight season having 10 sacks or more in a season for 3 different franchises. He's played for 3 different teams in the last 3 years, which is kind of crazy. So the defense has been doing a lot, and as long as they keep that up, we're always going to be in a game, regardless of how much Jalen Hurts struggles or anybody else struggles. Biggest thing, of course, going into this weekend, Jalen Hurts does have a sprained shoulder. There are reports that he will play, he won't play, he's uncertain. If he doesn't play, Gardner Minshew will start. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but fortunately, I actually have pretty good faith in Gardner Minshew. He's come in last year and done some things. Granted, I don't think that it will be as dynamic as it is with Jalen Hurts, but there's still a chance that he could play. I personally think he's going to play. That's just my own personal feelings. I feel like they're trolling the Cowboys. I think they're trying to confuse them with who's going to play and who's not going to play. That's just my thoughts. I could be crazy. But I think there's a chance he'll play. I mean, he had his sprained shoulder in the third quarter, and he still played for the rest of the game. So there's always a chance that they'll play against the Cowboys Saturday night. To see if they win the game, they'll get the number 1 seed. As of now, the Eagles are 3 games ahead of the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 2 games ahead of the Giants, and the Giants are 1 game ahead of the Commanders, and with the tiebreaker as well. So we'll see what happens next week. It's always next week is going to be good because everybody plays against really good teams. Well, if you consider Minnesota a really good team, I don't know how you guys feel about that anymore. They did an amazing thing this past week, but it was against the Colts. So we'll see. It's going to be good regardless, of the games that's going to happen next week.
Yeah, closer to playoffs, watching all these folks fight for seeding is going to be fun. It's going to be hilarious. And again, shame on you, Colts. That is disgusting behavior. I'm going to keep bringing it up because that's just nasty work.
I mean, it's never been done before. I was like, this game is over.
I mean, I don't know how you lose a 33-point lead in football. However, congrats to them. I guess maybe next time you should hire a coach that's coached before. But, hey, it's whatever. Ray, the Wizards.
Oh, man. Speaking of things that don't happen often, they're in the midst of a 10-game slide. Doesn't look to be getting any better anytime soon. They see Phoenix tonight with no Porzingis. So expect Ayton to morph into Will Chamberlain. But yeah, they're just in the slide right now, man. Nothing's going right for them. They're not defending. They're still taking an obscene amount of threes with a lot of takes and not a lot of makes. So I'll let you do with that information what you will. But yeah, it's really not too much more to say at this point. Outside of Jordan Goodwin and Gaff at times, nobody really has any intensity. So that's why we're getting the results we're getting. It seemed to be void of leadership. Somebody's got to take charge and try to, rein this thing in, whether that be a player, a coach, somebody. It just seems like people are accepting this. And, the longer that goes on, the longer they're going to pile up L's. So, we'll see what kind of fight they have tonight. Phoenix, they aren't playing around right now. And going up against Devin Booker right now as a team that doesn't defend, you're going to have a long night. So yeah, we'll hopefully come time for Wizards Outlook, we won't be talking about a 50 burger, but who knows, man. I'm not going to be stressed about it. I'm gonna let the people who get paid to worry about that stuff worry about it, and I'll just talk about what they give me to talk about. So yeah, that's what the Wizards are. It's a bleak picture, but I can't make stuff up. I gotta go with the facts.
Yeah, going from one disappointment at the moment from the Colts to the Wizards, same week. Again, 10-game slide is just disgusting. Like Ray said, well, Wizards Outlook later this evening and throughout this week as they continue on this West Coast road trip. That has been a trip from hell thus far, and it was something that Ray, Cardell, and myself, had talked about prior to them going out west. That said, we're gonna take our first break. When we get back, talk about some more positive things in our college basketball segment. You're watching the Focus TV. Welcome back to the Focus TV. Cardell, kicking off our college basketball segment.
Yeah, no GW right now. They're on a extended break for academics. So I took a trip to UMBC on Sunday to see them take on William & Mary. And it was an impressive game from UMBC. Their defense definitely led the way, in their 78-62 win over the Tribe. Jacob Bunyasith posted a game-high 19 points and 4 rebounds, while sniper Colton Lawrence, who's a transfer from Division II, he was one of the top three-point shooters in Division II, and he's continuing that trend at the Division I level. He added 14 points and 3 rebounds. William & Mary was led by Noah Collier, who finished with a monster double-double, 14 points and 14 rebounds. And Gabe Dorsey added 13 points. As I said, UMBC is extremely well coached, and one thing I saw right away is they execute well on both ends. Normally, with in college, you might have a team that executes better on one end than the other, or or it might be up or down. Not only do they execute well on both ends, but they're consistent throughout the game. It doesn't really falter, which makes them tough to beat. You know what I mean? Even though they may not be the most talented team, top to bottom, the way they play, the way they execute, and consistently execute, it's going to be tough for teams to beat them, and that's why they're currently 9-4. Their defense was strong consistently throughout the game. They held the Tribe to 41% shooting from the field and 31% from three-point range, forcing 11 turnovers. They locked up the Tribe's preseason all-conference for Ben White, holding him to 5 points and 3 rebounds and on 2 of 6 shooting for the game. Meanwhile, the Retrievers shot 53% from the field, 40% from deep in the first half, and they shot they shot 40% from deep in the first half. They cooled off a little bit, shot 1 for 8 in the second half, finishing at 27% from deep in the game. But it didn't matter with the way their defense was locked in. And in addition to that, they shot 13 of 15 from the charity stripe. UMBC also handed out 15 assists as a team. Look, they're just a balanced team. It's hard to kind of focus on one player, take away Boone, then Lawrence might torch you. They got bigs that do the dirty work, but still skilled enough to hurt you from the outside. But their perimeter game, the way they can shoot the ball, is their biggest threat, especially from Boone, Colton Lawrence, and junior guard Mateo Picarelli, another sniper who comes off the bench and is averaging 11.8 points per game on 48% shooting from the field, 48% shooting from three-point territory. My fault. Then you had point guard Craig Boudion, who's a true floor general, looks to set up all those shooters, set up all his bigs, press the action in a sense, with an up-tempo grind. But if you get back and make them play a half-court game, he knows how to pick you apart that way as well. And a freshman who just started playing 3 games ago, and Deion Brown. I like Brown a lot. He could 6'3" guard. He could defend the 1 through the 3. Super dynamic offensive threat with the way he can create shots for himself. And he's averaging 11.7 points on 72% shooting from the field off the bench currently. So definitely moving forward, I'm going to have to keep an eye on him. Then whatever those guards happen to miss, whatever shots they don't make, UMBC has a trio of front court guys that clean it up and do the dirty work. And Jarvis Doze, Jarl Bing-Mensa, and Trayvon Fagan. On the Tribe side, keeping out 6'8" junior forward Noah Carter. He's athletic, tough. He's basically a walking double-double, averaging 9.1 points and 8.2 rebounds on 50% shooting from the field. And then senior point guard Anders Nelson, a quick, efficient floor general, posted 10 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds on 40% shooting from the field in the loss to UMBC. However, Nelson is averaging nearly 11 points, 5.3 assists on 47% shooting from the field, 45% shooting from deep, and 77% shooting from the line on the season. With the win, UMBC moved into second place in the American East Conference at 9-4, behind UMass Lowell, who's currently 11-2. They will next face Maryland on December 29th at 7 p.m.
All right, as Cardell mentioned when he was talking about GW, Maryland women's has been on a little bit of break since they upset UConn on the 11th of this month. They'll travel to Fort Wayne, Indiana to take on Purdue Fort Wayne Wednesday morning, which features a fun family matchup. As Cheyenne Sellers will get a chance to play against her sister Shayla. After that, their next action will be December 30th when they resume conference play by hosting Minnesota. Just a reminder that, a lot of teams, even during this break, conference play, we're talking about seeding in football. Conference play games matter. It's gonna matter towards the end of this season. It's gonna matter when we get to this selection Sunday, whatnot. But for Maryland, my biggest thing with them is the consistency. Cool, you upset UConn. That's great. That should not be a competitive game. You play on Wednesday. You need to go out there and handle your business and get ready for Minnesota and then handle your business on the 30th as well. That's just where I'm at with it. Otherwise, it takes away from those big wins you've had. Resume is going to start looking a little jacked up. But we'll see how Maryland performs this week, and we'll report back to you all next week. For the 9-4-50 breakdown this week, Jamal Hayward had a breakdown of footwork for fadeaways. Again, a breakdown of footwork for fadeaways. Followed by our second break, you're watching the Focus TV.
Today we're going to work on fadeaway shots, going to your left, going to your right, the footwork for it, when to use it, how to set it up as well also. So I'm going to start off driving to my left. So footwork for your fadeaway. As I'm driving to my left, I'm going to take 2 dribbles. So as I'm driving to my left here, I'm driving to my left. So my normal footwork, when I go to my left for a pull-up, is going to be right left. Now, pay attention to my left foot. So I drive here, I plant that right foot. Now that left foot normally would come here for a pull-up, but because I'm going to start a fadeaway, it's going to come out a little bit to start the process of a fadeaway. So, as I walk through this, 1, 2. Now, what sets that whole fadeaway process up is my hard drive here into the fade. Same thing if I go to the middle, going to my right. So, I can utilize any move here, get to my left hand, into that fade. So, separate from the defender. Now, one key thing you want to make sure that last dribble you take is a hard pound. So 1, hard pound, push your body away. Now, I can utilize this move, changing directions and going to my other direction. So I'm here, change, 1, 2, now left, right, going to my right, planting this right foot, but further away into a fade. So here we go, breaking it down again. Different setups for fadeaways, different breakdown for fadeaways, looking at the footwork, useful shot.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. Want to thank Jamal Hayward for knocking out the 9-4-50 breakdown this week. Cardell, what you got for us on Rapid Fire?
Yes, kind of piggybacking off what Octavia spoke about earlier. This time from a former Commanders head coach, Jay Gruden, calls for the official to be suspended over the Terry McLaurin penalty. Questionable illegal formation, as Octavia spoke about, called on receiver Terry McLaurin. Even calls former Washington coach Jay Gruden to speak his mind about what happened. Quote, "I don't know what I would have done," Gruden said via 106.7 The Fans, Grant Paulson. "I might have run across the field and tackled that referee. I don't understand how you can make that call. It's the worst call I've ever seen. To make that call in that part of the game, that referee should be suspended, in my opinion. That's a horrible call. Especially a guy like Terry, he's been lined up over there all game." Gruden continued. "He lined up in that same formation probably 25 times throughout the course of the game. He's standing right in front of him. He pointed at the ground twice. I mean, come on, you don't throw a flag in that situation ever." Octavia, do you agree with Jay that the ref should be suspended, or is he overreacting a little bit?
I mean, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I definitely think he's overreacting because, that's the team he's not his coach and he has a lot of ties to them. But I can understand the frustration of the team because from everything that I've listened to this week so far about, them asking, like apparently, if you don't ask, then okay, that's one thing. But if you actually ask the ref, am I on the line? And then he tells you yes, no, and it appears that he told him to move up some and he moved and he checked again because you can see him point over there looking to make sure. So I would be interested to see if there's some type of investigation. I don't 100% say suspend just because I don't know how in depth they are when it comes to, because a lot of these calls are judgment calls that they always talk about. They're judgment calls. That's how I looked at it. But to me, it definitely looks a lot shady because it does appear like he's acknowledging him. And I promise it was right after Terry turned his head, it's before the ball was even snapped, I saw his hand in his pocket. So it was like that was the part that kind of threw me off. I've never seen something like that happen either. Excuse me. And like watching and looking at like former players and saying stuff was like they all agree it was kind of off. And I'm sure a lot of coaches do too. I'd be interested to see because I really haven't heard any other like officials or previous officials like speak to that one. Like I've seen people talking about the missed pass interference in the end zone, but I don't know if I've seen anything where other referees are, critiquing it and saying like what they should have done, what they didn't do, and all of those things. But I mean, I don't know how big a suspension really is in this case because, like I said, everything that they look at is they always say it's a judgment call. But as far as it being kind of sneaky and shady, I would be interested. I mean, I guess I just don't understand why. I guess the part that's throwing me off is like, do you not like the Commanders? Like, did you bet against them? It's just like a Donahue situation. And you try to figure out a way to make sure they don't win. Like, that's the part that threw me off. Like, I've never seen it. Like, if I ask you as a referee, like, I feel like you're obligated to respond. And to just throw the flag after that, it was kind of wild.
Right.
Yeah, that was puzzling, man. Given the fact that that Terry did, he checked in with him like, "Am I good?" And it looked like the ref gave him the go ahead that he was all right, and then immediately threw the flag. I think it's magnified because of when it happened. And it took points off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Like the situation definitely made it worse. But Jay Gruden, that's the ref's not getting suspended. Like what type of precedent does that set where now every time a ref misses a call, is that going to be the reaction? Like, so I'm not entertaining that, but I could definitely see how there could be some some frustration with how that played out, especially since that's like standard for receivers to do that. It happens a lot, just checking to make sure that they're okay. But yeah, for him to to have that conversation with the ref and the ref telling him that he's fine and then throws the penalty, like, yeah, that's wild. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. But yeah, I don't know what the investigation process looks like for the league, but yeah, that's a tough one, man, especially given when it happened in the game.
Wilson.
Yeah, so obviously he made a whole bunch of noise on Twitter that night and everyone was going crazy. So, I just try to sit back and just try to get some information for people who played at that level, and what better people to get that from than, former NFL offensive linemen. And one of the things I think was George Foster was talking about, and he was just like, every play, obviously you can have one wide receiver lined up off the ball, right? Cool, no issue. At the start of the play, Terry was the one wide receiver lined up off the ball. Scott Turner in his play design had another player go in motion. Once he went in motion, Terry became the second player off ball. So when Terry asked him, he was cool. Dude went in motion, both of them can't be off. Then the flag happened. So I understand Terry's frustration, as also with somebody who's a fan of a team who has a ton of motions. Play design matters, and I'm gonna leave that alone. I get it sucks at the moment that it happened, but you can't have two people lined up off ball.
I feel like I just heard something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice that. That's a good observation. I definitely didn't
me either. That's like
I'm not gonna take credit for it. Like I said, dude, he's a great follow, but played in the league at offensive line, and he brought up a great point because I see my team get flagged at times, and sometimes I don't get it. But a lot of times, what happens, like I know, like again, example, like when the Niners get in trouble is when they'll have multiple people go in motion, but they go together. What happens is when one of the idiots doesn't go with the other one, then they get in trouble. But Terry was fine. Dude came over. I think it was Curtis Samuels. They tried to bring him in motion, put him in the backfield, and the play went dead. So when dude came in motion, Terry's supposed to step up.
That changed the whole dynamic of the situation.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, moving on to the NBA side. Something I'm pretty sure we all will have something to say about Kevin Durant. He rips media at the Gio Bernard incident with reporters. NBA star Kevin Durant took to Twitter on Monday morning to show support for Buccaneers running back Giovanni Bernard and ripped media members after an awkward locker room interview on Sunday. Reporters and Bernard jousted verbally when he attempted to leave the locker room without answering questions, specifically about a fake punt attempt that he fumbled. Bernard said, "Oh, now you guys want to talk to me," intimating that the media has seldom sought his comments this season. One reporter can be heard asking Bernard in a video, "What have you done for us to talk about you all year?" The tailback only has played in 5 games this season due to an ankle injury, and he responded, "Can I go to my family that I have outside?" The reporter said, "You can. Just don't say that we didn't talk to you all year." Bernard eventually agreed to answer questions, but after taking responsibility for the play, he repeatedly said it was all me. When asked if the team practiced the play or if he knew it was a fake punt, Durant quote tweeted the video of the interaction and commented, "Giovanni handled this like a true pro." Then he said, "Entitlement in this world has gone to another level. Media believes they are responsible for the popularity of the game." When a fan asked Durant if there would be professional sports without the media, the Nets star replied, "We can survive without spoiled, entitled clickbait media. There are some good people who simply love to cover the sport." Ray, we're gonna start with you. What are your thoughts on this exchange?
In regards to the Gio situation, the reporter was right. Could have went about it a different way, but I mean, if we talking about handling like a pro, part of your professional obligations is speaking to media, right? So, I mean, if you're trying to duck out of that, especially after you did something like that in the game, you know they're gonna want to talk to you about it. Like you gotta be able to stand there, and because if you scored a game-winning touchdown, you wouldn't have been ducking out the locker room. So you know you got to take the good with the bad, man. I mean, and we see it a lot. You know, when things are good, people can't wait to get the microphone in their face. When things are not so good, you know, it's a different story. So you can't have it both ways, man. Either you want to talk to us all the time or you're not. You know, but in regards to KD's comments, like, well, mind your business. Like, and just because you feel like that one reporter might have handled things in a not so great way, you can't blanket all media under that, you know. And as far as the game, media thinking they popularized the game because they did. How's would a game get popular? We're seeing effects of that. That's one of the main criticisms of how that WNBA is covered. You know, it's not getting enough media attention. And KD has shared those sentiments before. So he understands how media affects, you know, the growth and popularity of a sport. So for him to say that, you know, especially playing in the league he plays in, where the NBA finals were on tape delay as recently as the 80s. You know, what changed that was marketing, media, and the game being pushed. So, I mean, it just seemed real sensitive, and he's taking opportunity to try to lash out because, you know, he isn't always portrayed favorably in the media. Some through his own fault, but that's a conversation for another day. But you know, we take your feelings out of it, man, because emotional responses are rarely based in fact, and then you just end up kind of looking crazy. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. We know how some of these guys get, but yeah, none of this would have been an issue if the dude just stood there and took the heat for messing the play up from the get-go.
Wilson?
As often when Katie talks anything, you know, addresses anything media related, wide generalizations, sweeping generalizations that are always wrong every time. Like there's like 3 of those quotes from him a year, it feels like, and every single time it's just wrong and bad. And with the reporters, yeah, there are entitled reporters. Yes, there's a lot of clickbait type stuff. However, clickbait type stuff, the opposite of that, all of that still helps share your sport, the sport that you play in. All of it goes towards helping the leagues, whether you like it or not. So this is one of those times. Just focus on the Nets, buddy.
I'll tell you.
So to start with Giovanni Bernard, first of all, grow up. Like you said, like the media person said, what have you done this season for us to need to speak with you? Like, usually if we're talking to you, that means we're writing a story about something that you did. You haven't played but in 5 games. So let's be honest about that. Number 2, it's just so polarizing to see the difference of how certain people handle things. The worst play that anybody has possibly ever seen in NFL history, with Jacoby Myers throwing the ball backwards to Mac Jones of all people. Like, what was he going to do with the ball? And he stood there at his locker, who I'm sure he doesn't get interviewed that much either. He stood there at his locker and he took responsibility for it. That's all you had to do. But that to me just shows you the differences between everybody ain't a grown-up in the league. So he needs to grow up, answer the questions, or like Ray said, like, don't be mad when we don't come here and ask you nothing, because it's like now you're seeming like a person that's difficult to talk to. So then why would I want to interview you? Like, you can't have it both ways. Secondly, Katie, it's the pot calling the kettle black for me when you talk about entitlement. Sir, you're the last person to talk about entitlement. Let's start there. Okay. And again, mind you, it's like you say you don't want to be in the media and the clickbait stuff, but you keep doing stuff like this for them to talk about you. You got burner accounts, you argue with people on the internet all day long. You're the same people that you talk about. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand how these multi-million-dollar people, like, if I had the talent that Katie had, if I had the money that Katie had, if I had the resources that Katie had, I'm not going back and forth with nobody on Twitter. Like, I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me, especially to put yourself into something that has absolutely nothing to do with you. Like, I would wonder, do you even know Giovanni Bernard? Like, do y'all even know each other? Or is it just something that you just want to start hoopla about? So then you reap what you sow. Like, if you keep putting yourself in situations like that, why do you think stuff is going to keep happening? So I'm in agreement with all of you guys. Like, the Nets are finally not in the news. You guys are like on a 6, 7, 8 game winning streak. You're playing well. Let's just focus on that. You're not even a Bengals fan. Talk like the Commanders. Like, talk about something that happened with them. It's annoying.
Yeah, for me, let's see. So the NBA is currently in a 9-year, $24 billion deal with Disney, ABC, ESPN, Warner Brothers, and also TNT pays the league $2.6 billion. Those are media companies, right? Okay, so billions of dollars to broadcast the game. Yeah, the media's entitled to talk to you, Mo. Yeah, hell yeah. You know why? It's a lot of money. They paying your salary. Yeah. OG players, the Magics, the Birds, Dr. J, all those guys going back. They bust their ass to get these people to get on board and start getting corporate America and TV deals in the mix for NBA. So you guys can come along now and make the type of money you're making, because damn sure it ain't because of y'all. You feel what I'm saying? With the other quote he said that really caught my attention. Media believes they are responsible for the popularity of the game. Media is, fool.
I was about to be like how you want to see it?
The games were on tape delay. They were an afterthought. Before Magic and Bird came along, the NBA was an afterthought especially during that period because of the drug situation, and they was calling the league too black. It was baseball and it was football, and boxing. Boxing was more popular than the NBA, and in some parts of the country, hockey was. It was a totally different world. So yeah, media is responsible for increasing the popularity of the game. Like, and here's the ironic thing about it: you own a media company, and your whoever you got working for you literally regurgitate articles and news on clickbait shit. Like you can't make this stuff up, man. Like, I'll be trying to rock with KD, man, but he makes it hard, though. He does, man. Like, look, you can't not respect this game. Like, that's just. But you can separate one from the other, man. Like, homie, he need therapy. You need some men around, like some solid men. Just like, dog, shut up. Just hoop, man. Like, sometimes you did. It's just that simple. It ain't even got nothing to do with you, dog. Now you in the news. You gonna be talked about some more. Then you gonna blame the media for being talked about when you put your nose in somebody else's business.
Exactly.
And yeah, and that's for Bernard, dog. That comes with being a professional athlete. I always look at these dudes sometimes and just and I can relate on the smaller instance, like, dog, you bust your ass to get recognized so you can get opportunities. You can go from high school and get a scholarship. You can go from college and hopefully get to the pros and stuff. All that attention is what attracts those people. That's attention. That's what you fight for. So you can't have it both ways. If y'all killing, man, y'all, like, that's part of being a professional. You get paid for that. Like Steve Kerr said, he said a great quote. They was like, man, somebody asked him, like, why they get paid so much money? He said, well, a certain portion of it goes to what they do on the court. Majority of it goes to everything that comes with it. You get traded, you got to be able to move your family, all that, uproot, deal with the media, all that. That's why you get paid a lot of money, because it's a lot with it. So you can be comfortable enough to come out here and do your job and be the best athlete you can be for as long as you can. It's as simple as that. So I'm tired of these dudes literally doing the same ish. And like, no disrespect, it's only a handful of players in the NBA that can even call anybody entitled. 95% of them are all entitled. We see it every day, though. We see how they play. We see how they care with people. It's to the point I don't even like talking to them. Like just get on the show, because I don't even feel like dealing with that. Like, that's a pet peeve of mine. You feel what I'm saying? So my man. Look, my man, he gotta get some therapy or something, dog. Like, he gotta do something, dog. Because he for all his success, you can just tell he's miserable inside. He just be finding things to complain about, man. It's like, bro, this is simple, man. And my man Bernard, it was clear he was trying to run out. He was trying to escape before they got to him. You know, he knew he was gonna be answered. He was gonna be asked that. Own that, John, dog. That's part of being a professional. But the longer you try to run from it, and then let's say he did escape and the reporters ain't get to him, cool. Then you read the articles, they talking about you on shows and just saying all types of stuff. Now you mad, like, why ain't y'all talking to me? Y'all don't even know the facts. Well, when we talk to you, you got a problem. Like, damn, what do you want? And you see that a lot with these athletes, like, damn, I talk to you, you mad, I reach out to you. If I get on TV or get in an article, get the writing and something like that, say something without talking to you, you ain't never talk to me. It's like, what the hell do y'all want? All right, then, man. It sounds like they just want everything to go their way when they want it. And that's never going to happen, dog. And I'm glad the reporter clapped back, because that's just real, dog. Like, the reporter clapped back, like, dog, you ain't gave us nothing to talk about, dog. Like, and as cold as that sounds, it's like, well, damn. So, and you know the man felt it, because he was just like, all right. Like, when he said it that way, it's like, but damn, he is kind of right. Like, come on. We say this all the time. Like, we covering the Wizards. We get tired of saying the same old negative stuff. Like, we going to just call it like we see it till they give us something else to say, bro. They're on a 10-game losing streak. What you want us to say? They're playing great. They're amazing. They're going to win the championship. Come on, man. Like, it's just this. I don't know what to say about these dudes, man. It's like, Kevin, man, dog. Be happy, man. Like, try to learn to be happy, son. Like, you winning, dog. Like, whatever's eating at you, man, I hope you find peace, man, because that's crazy. And Wilson, you're right. It's old, dog. It's old. It's something. He has outbursts like this every few years, every so often, man. Like, when he said something about Shannon Sharp, I understood that, because Shannon always getting at him. I'm like, all right, I get that. But no, and don't bring all media into this because all media ain't that. Matter of fact, you're a part of the media, so does that include you?
That's the part that was funny to me. This was the time that he caught himself on the back end, but you had jumped so far out there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like the first half of it was There's also some good people that cover it too.
And I'm gonna end this with this: the Charles Barkley thing. You don't never hear from these dudes when you give them compliments and show love. It's crickets. You don't hear them get on Twitter like, "Man, I appreciate the compliment, man," or "Appreciate you respecting our game." And you don't hear from them then. That screams entitlement. But if it's something they don't want to hear or like, even though it may be true, attitude. So it is what it is, man. But he need to fall back. It's been old. Back on the NFL side, Aaron Rodgers calls out Christian Watson after missing late touchdown. Though the Packers comfortably beat the Rams at Lambeau Field on Monday, Rodgers and co had a chance to add to their 24-12 lead late in the fourth quarter. On 3rd and 2 from the LA 4-yard line, Rodgers fired the pass out wide to Christian Watson, but the rookie appeared unaware that the ball was coming in his direction. The pass fell harmlessly to the ground. Rodgers appeared frustrated at the botched play. The Packers quarterback seemingly had a right to be disappointed in the result, as a video replay on the ESPN broadcast showed Rodgers making a hand signal and Watson's direction before the snap. Green Bay still the win on the first down rush by Aaron Jones on the next play, so Watson error then caused the However, Rodgers made sure to send a message to his rookie wideout after the game about the mistake. You want to catch touchdowns, you run the right routes. The smile of Rodgers told ESPN's Lisa Salters during the postgame interview. Rodgers expanded upon his thoughts about Watson in his postgame press conference, saying that the 2022 draft pick had a handful of other missed opportunities on Monday. However, he praised the former North Dakota State star for his work ethic and raw talent. And Rodgers said that's going to happen. He's a rookie. He's such a good kid. He really cares about it, and he's so talented. Wilson. Mr. Rogers being Mr. Rogers again, crossing the line, or was it justified?
I'm sure it's probably justified, but honestly, I'm going to keep it a buck. I bet you he's run that same route. Other times he's done right and the ball ain't go there, but nobody says anything to you. But I'm going to leave that alone. That offense works a certain way. You run it how you want to, but you are who you are, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. When you run the offense right, MVP. When you don't run the offense right, you lose in the playoffs. Leave that little boy alone. Like, yes, Christian, I'm sure, needs to do right. Also, I don't want to hear you talk about Christian. This week, some crap came out talking about going to the Bay next year. On your latest stint on Pat McAfee show, he's on like the KD plays for me times 10. Like every week, it's something. And what I don't get is it's never his fault. It's always somebody else's. And it's been that way for like 8 years there. And I get it. You won a title there. Give you credit. Obviously, winning the title is a huge thing. Come on, man. Like, yes. Also, you came in this year knowing you've been complaining about them not getting you wide receivers. You ran off Devontae Adams. So cool. They go get you some wide receivers. When you have young wide receivers, you know what young wide receivers do? Dumb stuff. It's part of having young wide receivers. That said, you haven't complained when Christians bailed you out of some trash possessions, when you throw some of them YOLO things up there and the 6'4" kid goes up there and makes some big plays. It's cool. And I'm sure that hand signal, it'll probably get as you spend more time with the kid. That's not Devontae. Nobody over there is Devontae. Y'all don't think the same. The hand signals ain't the same. Like, I think multiple things can be true. I just don't want to hear him talk about it. Personally, I just don't care.
Octavia.
Yeah, like my biggest takeaway from it is that like Wilson said, like it's a rookie, he's young. And I mean, maybe if you spend more time with him in the off season, he would understand what these hand signals are. I mean, you weren't there for, a lot of the mini camp stuff. Granted, it's optional, but you can't complain. You can't have it both ways, And like you said, like you can't try to put the kid down, but I've never heard him, I guess, outside of this press conference now, give him a lot of positive feedback for the things that he has done, especially in the last couple of games that he's come on in, and he's definitely bailed Aaron Rodgers out of a lot of things. And I'm kind of on the same path about like how you are with KD as well with Aaron Rodgers, because like you say, it's not. I don't feel like it's every week. I really feel like it's like every day. It's something, and it drags on from the moment the off season starts all the way through the off season, through the preseason, through the whole season, and it just keeps going on and on and on. I'll be honest. I'll be. I don't want to say happy when he retires, but like I'll be okay when he retires, like because then I don't have to hear this saga anymore. And I mean, yeah, their wide receivers have been struggling ever since, and you're the main reason why Devontae Adams not there anymore. And I mean, they just cut Sammy Watkins, and I mean, Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs was like the first game they even played together this season because both of them have had injuries. So I mean, I just thought it was a cheap shot, but I'm not surprised because that's just what Aaron's been doing all year.
Right.
Yeah, he on Charlie Brown teacher status for me. I don't hear nothing he talking about. But yeah, that was overboard, man. You can have that conversation in private. Just there was some miscommunication. The play didn't work out. Move on with your life. But yeah, he's we were just talking about entitled athletes. He fits the mold.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know, man. I will be happy when he retires. So maybe he won't be as visible anymore. But yeah, man, that's that. I don't think that's something that's gonna make the young guy come closer to you or even have any trust in you, since you basically blasted him like that for for a misplay after all the good plays he made this season to get you out of jams. But yeah, I don't expect nothing more from Aaron Rodgers in situations like this. It is what it is.
I remember years ago in the playoffs, Ben Simmons, Doc Rivers joined the lead thing, and I was like, my reaction is Ben should have went back there and just got at both of them with both their ass, do the best he can. Aaron Rodgers needs his ass whooped. It's certain points where you just need a good ass whooping to bring you back to reality. To realize, dude, your shit does stink. Just stop. What is throwing this kid under the bus gonna do? You see, like, I don't think athletes today are really reading the room because they're making so much money. I guess in that sense they don't have to because they got so many their bubble ass kisses around them. But Slum, we coming off the fool who's in the White House. I'm just talking about society. Just follow me. Fool who's in the White House, COVID, all types of crap. This fool in Russia threatening nuclear war. Like, just think about all the social issues when the brothers getting killed, sisters getting killed, all that about the police and all that. So I think I speak for all society. We tired. We don't want to hear y'all bitching, dog. Like, it's just we at that point, man. Like, sports is supposed to be an escape. We want to watch the game and escape real life. We don't want to come in like that. Damn, it's more negative. This dude bitching. Like, think about, and no disrespect, Octavia, but I gotta go ahead. We all married. Sometimes, I don't feel like dealing with the bitching, dog. You know what I'm saying? From your ladies and all that. Turn on the TV and this grown man. You can't even enjoy sports. It's like, damn. That's what you have. And on top of that, Aaron Rodgers, you won the game. There was no need to even go there. There was no need to even go there. He's a youngin'. How about you elevate him, help him learn, help him grow? You know what I'm saying? And then you score right after. And I'm pretty sure I ain't looked at the stats, but I'm pretty sure if I look at the game, I'm pretty sure he has some incomplete passes. Maybe got sacked a time or two. Maybe an interception, maybe not. My point is he made mistakes. So why ain't he bringing that up?
Because he's him.
Rookie fire back and bring those up.
That's what I was going to say. It was like he need to say something back. I'm like, well, maybe if he threw the ball the right way, then it'd be what? Then what?
He ain't say that when he threw that duck, and I still caught that last week. You know what I'm saying? Like, say something like that.
Yeah.
When the safety was coming, I saw and I got the block and saved his ass. Like, man, come on, dog.
Mind you, my fault.
Go ahead.
I got a video playing for no reason in my background. But mind you, the kid, like Octavia said, their wide receivers struggle with injuries. He's played 11 games. In 11 games, the kid has 7 touchdowns. That's who you mad at?
Bro, I went and picked him up.
7 touchdowns in 11 games. And he didn't come from D1. He went to the same school Trey Lance went to. What is it, FBS?
Mm-hmm.
Right underneath? That's what he came from. He got you 7 touchdowns in NFL. Man, if you don't leave that kid alone, like serious. He got 447 yards and 7 touchdowns. Mind you, if he's only played 11 games, you've played more than 11 games. Is it Christian Watson's fault? You guys are 6-8?
So, Aaron Rodgers, 22 or 30, missed 8 passes, had an interception, was sacked 3 times. He made mistakes. So why are you getting on him? A couple of passes, I'm pretty sure he was targeting him and he overthrew the pass was wild. So it's no need to do that. Like football even more so than basketball is the ultimate team sport because you cannot function if somebody else don't do their job. You just can't. If the offensive line don't block, quarterback gonna get killed, and that his career gonna be short. So with a running back, unless you Barry Sanders, you can juke everybody, but eventually they're gonna catch up to you and they're gonna blast you still. Like same thing defense, man. You depend on the next man to do his job so you can do your job. Whereas in basketball, sometimes if you're talented enough, you can win the game. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of take control, but I'm just not with that, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a time and place for everything, especially for a younger. Now, if it was a vet and he was just tripping or something, I get it. Like, come on, dog, you better than this. Like, let's go. Not a younger. You gotta uplift him, man, because he already wide out. He's still learning. So why do that? But Aaron has a long history of these things, so guess it's just have to accept it. Last one that we out here, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert relationship. Basketball just didn't work. In a recent interview with Anscape, Mitchell explained why things just never work with the All-Star Center and how that relationship is now. Quote, honestly, basketball just didn't work, he said. We live in such a world where it has to be really negative. Basketball just didn't work. We didn't see eye to eye. We wanted to both win, but we wanted to do it in 2 different ways. It didn't work. But as far as him and I go as people, I don't hate him, and he doesn't hate me. I wouldn't say we're the best of friends, but we're not at the point where it's like I can't stand him. Mitchell also admitted that the relationship began to turn sour at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Gobert was infamously the first NBA player to ever test positive for the virus in March 2020, and it was speculated he was responsible for infecting Mitchell. But honestly, it really started with COVID, Mitchell continued. Everything we did up to that point was under a microscope to the point where we were getting evaluated on how many times we threw the ball to each other, and that's unfortunate. But it's the reality of it, and it just didn't work. I wish it did. I wish we went farther. We had the opportunity, but we didn't. And we're both in different spots now, but I want to wish him the best, and I know he feels the same way. It's back on you, Octavia. Just your thoughts on this. Donovan just being raw and uncut about it.
I mean, I feel like it just kind of confirmed what most of us knew. Like, I feel like that's when the rift really started. Like, granted, I didn't know how deep he would have taken it because we all saw the video with Gobert, pretending like, oh, I'm touching everything, and he actually was. So I was like, I don't know how to heart Donovan Mitchell took it, but it seems like he really did take that to heart by getting him infected, and I guess in his eyes being the beginning of the shutdown for the NBA. Due to COVID, even though I personally think it was inevitable, it would have happened regardless. I do appreciate him, being open and honest, but I think what I appreciate more is that he was still respectful in it. Because a lot of people can just be open and honest and be like, it ain't work, I don't really mess with him like that, but I feel like he was still respectful to him in a sense. And it's right, we look at these players that get paired together and just think they're automatically supposed to just gel. And I think that they gave it a good try, but as we all see, they just never could get over the hump in the playoffs. They would have good seasons, and then it would just kind of go down. And I do think it might have been a power struggle to a certain sense. They're both really good players. Donovan, in my opinion, is probably more dominant than him as far as, they play 2 different positions, of course. But I just think sometimes personalities just don't match. And, I think sometimes we don't take that into consideration when you think about building a team. Personalities and how people get along is definitely a part of it. And just in this case, it just didn't work out for them. But I appreciate him being, open and honest about it and just kind of solidifying what I feel like I thought all along.
Right.
Yeah, I think he just kind of like Octavia said, just confirmed, all the stuff that had been swirling around. But yeah, I mean, that was his take on the situation, man. I'm in no position to to critique that or say he's not being truthful or what have you. Yeah, sometimes things just don't work out for whatever reason. And yeah, if you're gonna compete at that level and try to win the championship, there's got to be some type of cohesiveness between the main guys. And that doesn't mean you got to be the best of friends, but you got to be able to communicate, you got to be able to trust each other. It just seems like that relationship was it wasn't solid enough, for lack of a better word, for them to maximize their success. And I mean, who knows, like maybe he learned from that, and he's taking those lessons to his new team. And he's got a lot of young guys over there, so he's going to be in even more of a leadership role. So maybe those are some lessons he could take over there and improve with the Cavs. So yeah, man, like it is what it is. And also, yeah, he didn't trash the guy. He didn't blame him for anything. It was just this guy being upfront about what happened.
Awesome.
It was refreshing to hear somebody, speak their truth on how they felt about something and not trash someone, like both Octavia and Ray said. Not there to know exactly what happened. Take Donovan at his word. I think it's cool that they're not, throwing shots at each other from afar. This season's kind of like it is what it is. Both moved on, and that's that. And obviously we see Donovan flourishing in his new surroundings. But yeah, I don't think anything more of that. It was just refreshing.
Well, I understand why the COVID situation probably soured it, because he was pissing. I remember his face clearly after he got infected. When he first spoke, he was pissed because no one knew what we were dealing with, but people were dying at a rapid rate. So I can imagine him being scared, but he got it because his teammate was reckless as hell. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't they the team that I think Chris Paul was in OKC at the time? They were playing each other when in the middle of the game, they just like shut down the game and they had to stay in their locker rooms and all that. So it was serious. You know what I mean? And then he rubbed the mics and, not the camcorder, tape recorders and all that, being silly. Gobert did. Next thing you know, Donovan get it. I can imagine. Yeah, I would be pissed too because we didn't know what we were dealing with. Like that could have been a death sentence. You just don't know how it could have affected him. So now I'm looking at you like you a goofy ass. Like, why are you playing these games, Like you putting everybody, you put my life on the line essentially. So yeah, I'm gonna look at you side out after a while. But the truth is, on the court, it is what it is. They maxed out what they were because Donovan. Look, man, there's two different type of players. They need two different types of teams. Gobert needs more of a traditional point guard. Guys that can set him up defensively. We know what he's gonna do, but he's not fleet of foot where he can run with dynamic guards, and he's not a perimeter skill big. So he needs guys to set him up, and lobs and figure out ways to get him involved in the offense and score. But Donovan is dynamic. So I'm pretty sure when Gobert was looking like, can I get the ball? Donovan was probably shooting a three or splitting the double shot, going there and get buckets, or passing it to somebody else. You know what I mean? So, and I'm pretty sure Donovan was mad at him like, dog, pick and roll. This dude can't do nothing, man. He just is taking up space. You know what I'm saying? It's just a clash. Now you see Donovan with a team with bigs that can run with him. When they pop out, they can shoot the jumper and be a lob threat, and they play defense. That's why it's flowing better, and they have more fun and stuff like that. You saw the Wolves trouble at the beginning of the year when they were trying to figure out with Towns and stuff like that. But now with Towns out, Anthony Edwards is kind of figuring out how to be like a de facto point guard in a sense. So they're figuring out how to get Gobert those touches. I said he wasn't getting in Utah. So they're winning. They're starting to figure it out. It's just little things like that, man. But yeah, especially these days with how these dudes move, man, they don't really take on confrontation head on like I feel men should. Yeah, any little nonsense, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we see it here in DC, though. It's so many issues in that joint. It's hard to even pinpoint one, but you just seen it over the last couple of years. They just moving like ain't nothing wrong, because no one's trying to just deal with the elephant in the room, so to speak. And until you do that, the result that has been, it will continue to be the result that moving forward, man. So yeah, I mean, it's fresh and you kept it real, but we kind of pretty much already knew that just from afar. You just confirmed all that.
Well, we want to thank y'all for tuning in this week. As always, we close to the holidays, so wish you all a happy holidays. We'll catch you guys next week as well. Don't forget, tune in to into the Focus TV every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on our Roku channel. If you have a Roku television device, all you have to do is type in the search box, the Focus TV, double click OK on your controller, on your remote rather, and you have added the channel. To watch the shows on DC TV, all you have to do is Friday at 10 p.m., Saturday at 4:30 p.m. If you're in the city, you can watch it on your DC TV, or you go to dctv.org and you can watch the shows there. Just a reminder, we'll be back next week, and head over to thefocustv.com. Y'all have a great holiday. See y'all soon.